There we go. Okay. So we've been talking a little bit about the student body constitution and how we've been trying to create a framework that is open and kind of a launching off point, I guess you could say, of we wanted to create a framework that allowed the people in ULS to decide what they need. We didn't want to create something that made an assumption that we knew what the ULS student body needs would be. So we tried to use inclusive language. We tried to open it up. We tried to just put forth some of the most obvious things like president, treasurer, secretary, vice president. And then so the way that it is that there's an executive board that has all of those functions. And then campus will also have what we're calling a campus council, which will be all voted in, that will work with more of the immediate needs of each campus, of what's going on. So like, it didn't make sense for us to write something about the UTI in the Constitution, but it did make sense for us to say we will make space for there to be student representation of all the demographics of campus. So then a UTI person will still obviously be a part of community or the campus council, but it's not specifically written in that way. We've also gotten away from some of the class structure. So like there's no talk in the Constitution about junior, middle, or senior. Again, that kind of that representation falls under the campus council for people to be a part of the process that way. That's really the big thing that I saw as distinct to this Constitution. I mean, it obviously, we have to have meetings and we have to, follow the rules of money and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, that's the thing that makes this situation most unique, because, like everybody's talking about, we've got two campuses. We've got a whole bunch of people out there in the world doing DL. And how do we bring all these people together as a student body and, serve the needs of everyone to the best of our abilities?
So I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
For the different councils at each campus, will those also be the same people who are they going to be communicating as the larger board as well? So like, I don't want us to make decisions on one end that are not being transferred on both ends.
Right. So the executive board is the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and campus council chairs for the entire institution. And then the campus council is the campus council chairs and 6 other people who have been voted in by each distinctive campus. So there is overlap of that. The campus council chair sits on both of those boards.
And should conduit information upward.
Exactly. And the, sorry, I'm chewing sunflower seeds. The campus councils themselves do not have the power to make decisions for the entire student body. They only have the power to make decisions for the campuses. And so one of the things that's going to be interesting for just how things work out is creating a budget. We didn't really put a lot of framework in for that, other than to say that everybody comes together and puts together a budget, and ultimately it's the treasurer's job to adhere to that budget. So
and I think a large part next year is going to be with whoever gets elected to the executive board. There are going to be very important decisions that need to be made on when decisions are made at the campus level to go back and say you're not empowered to do that. So there's going to be a lot of need for that. Strong voices that can say, no, this isn't your purview. And, like just as any new document, we're gonna have to grow into it a little bit, but just really emphasize that we're looking for officers that can like have that strong commitment towards a centralized power structure, and deciding what can happen locally and what needs to be unified.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot of precedent setting in the first year, or even two, probably.
I have another question. So, when are we adopting this constitution, or like the student body gets to vote on it?
Yep. So the process that we've put together for this, for the ratification of the Constitution, and the election of officers, is Eric is calling a student body meeting next Tuesday, May 9th. So at that meeting, we'll have more discussion about the Constitution, and then we'll put forward a motion for ratification of the Constitution. And then that vote will happen online through the Moodle page that we use. And that will be just a simple majority, 50-50, yes or no, are we going to adopt this Constitution? And if that motion passes as yes, we're going to ratify the Constitution, and Gettysburg also ratifies on their side, then we'll go forward with elections, which will happen from May 15th to May 17th. And that will be an election process that won't be on Moodle. It will be on either SurveyMonkey or something like that, that everyone will be able to have access to vote for president, vice president, and treasurer of the executive board.
One question. So juniors coming in won't be a part of the executive board then?
So under the LTFSP Constitution right now, the way that it's broken out is juniors are eligible to be secretary, and
not eligible, but mandatory.
Yes, it has to be a junior secretary has to be a junior. President can be a middler or a senior. I forget I said secretary. Treasurer is a middler or a senior. Vice president is a middler or senior. But anyways, one of the things that we did in this Constitution was we tried to get away from some of the class structure. And so what we've done is the president, vice president, and treasurer, the language we've used is that they have to have at least 2 consecutive semesters of full-time membership of the student body to be eligible. And then we've used the secretary, the language is they have to have less than 2 consecutive. So it still breaks down the same, where the secretary will be a first year, so there will be junior representation on the executive board. But like I said, I think ULS is trying to move away from the class structure as well. So we wanted to model that in our Constitution too.
Right, a first-year student will be on the executive board.
Correct.
Would it be easier to just do a credit depiction?
No.
No? Okay.
Because the way that the credits break out, Gettysburg uses a different system than LTSP does. And so even when we were having discussions about credits, obviously ULS will be under one system,
Right.
But we were having a lot of trouble with that. So the language that we found was the consecutive semester.
Okay. And I think this is my last question. At least I hope.
Hey, if it's not, that's fine.
I can't remember what they're called, specializations, the UTI, the Metro Urban,
right.
I don't remember the other ones. So each of them still has a seat at the table, correct?
So like I said,
Okay.
we're not using any kind of like quota system. Like under the LTSP Constitution currently, it says there has to be representation from the UTI. There has to be representation from the junior class, the middle class, the senior class, the PhD students. All of those designations have to have representation. The way that we put it in this Constitution for ULS is that the campus council chair will facilitate elections for 6 people. And there aren't specified designations, but the hope is, and this is kind of us going in good faith, hoping that people will take these different needs seriously. But the hope is that then through those 6 people, most, if not all, of those specializations will be represented, if that makes sense. So
because there's a lot of different constituencies at the 2 different campuses, and
I can't hear you, Eric. I'm sorry.
there's a lot of different constituencies between the 2 different campuses, and so we emphasize that the makeup of this community council should be made with special attention and care to detail to represent the diversity that is present on the 2 communities. So like, of course, at Philadelphia, that would include UTI part-time commuter students. And like, I would hope in each of those 3 categories, along with, you know, a residential component, maybe an ecumenical component, something like that. And that would just be predicated on when those elections take place in the fall semester, that the you know, that the campus community rep, the campus council chair will you know, that position is directed to make sure to, you know, include the diversity in the council.
exactly.
And so
last question for real this time. So are we having a campus constitution as an addendum to this constitution to make sure that this diversity is all, because at different seasons, like the demographics of the campuses will change. So
Exactly.
how are we going to ensure that there's still a seat at the table for everyone?
I mean, the way that we ensure it is that the people who are voting during those different seasons take it seriously. Like I said, there's no kind of quota or anything like that, but like we have it written in the Constitution that we expect people to take in those different constituencies.
like a way that this could be helped on is like Will Bronner this year, and how in the beginning he ensured that, you know, he did a lot of legwork at the beginning of the year, making sure that our wider community was aware of voting, was aware of, you know, of the importance of these positions that were being offered. And, you know, and it was through that hard legwork that I don't even know how hard it was. He just made sure that, you know, people were aware, and, you know, probably sent links and things like that to different people to make sure they voted, you know, and that they were welcome at the seat of the table. And like, I think this year, you know, despite the quotas of previous years, this year's the first time that, you know, I think that the wider community had more voice in, you know, in even in the makeup of student government, you know?
Yeah, so that's the hope, is that there will be somebody, whether it's the president or the vice president, or, you know, that's the hope, is that there will be engagement on the level of the individuals to nominate and to vote for the representation that they
because
want.
all voting will be, it is mandated in the Constitution that all voting will take place online.
Exactly.
That there is no longer that, we need to drive to campus and, fill out a little ballot and drop it in the shoebox by the mailroom to, get your vote counted. And I think that will be of great help towards and making sure that our wider diverse community is represented on the councils and even on the executive board.
You got it. Exactly. And that was one of the things to include DL students as well.
That's another question.
Keep asking questions. It's okay.
So for DL students, which campus do they identify with? Is it based off of who they applied to, or?
Yeah, so first, before I answer that, I just want to acknowledge that Bridget is in the room. Say hi. I don't know if either of you know Bridget, but she is a first-year student here. So just I can't get all of us on the screen at the same time unless we get really close. But anyways, yeah, to answer your question, when people apply to the United Lutheran Seminary, there will be a checkbox on the application that says which campus you're applying to. So, which campus you will be residential on. But that also works for DL students. Which campus will be
home base?
Yeah, that's a good, I don't know exactly what the term is, but Eric just said designation. But you have to designate which campus you're a part of.
Okay.
I'm assuming that since students who are already enrolled in DL at LTSP are just are they automatically designated Philadelphia campus as their home base?
I believe so. That would be a question for Nate, I think,
okay.
Just to make sure, but that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm figuring since I applied and went through all of that with Philadelphia, that holds true.
Because I don't even know, does Gettysburg have a DL program right now?
No.
Not as of yet, they will next.
Right, so yeah, anybody who's in the DL right now with LTSP will roll over to ULS with the LTSP designation, I guess. But check with Nate just to be sure.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I'm good.
Cool. If you want to stay on and listen to more conversation, you can. And if not, you can hop off. But if you have any other questions, you can also use the link for another hour. I'll be on until 7. So
cool beans.
Right.
Awesome. Thanks, Emmanuel. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Seth. I'm going to run. Thanks for setting this up.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Be looking for emails about voting for the Constitution, yes or no. I guess the beginning of next week.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Good night.
All right. So I did record that part of it. I'm not going to record just the in-person stuff. I'm going to stay online though, in case somebody pops up.